when I was in a foxhole in the South Pacific, I had uh, felt something that was not precisely art. It was a desire to do something worthwhile with the years that I had been spared. That whatever there was, it was not a belief in God. I simply was. I was an atheist in foxhole, and where else would you likely to find an atheist but in a foxhole in the dirt and mud and blood and sweat and just plain nastiness of a foxhole. Uh, but I nevertheless felt it necessary to do something with this life that had been passed along to me by whomever or whatever. But the necessity to do something more uh, got me into art and pushed me along into it ever deeper. Or I could. The hardness of the stone finally really defeated me. I developed arthritis and various joint problems. Had both knees replaced. I had my shoulders, one shoulder replaced, and the my back had stenosis, probably brought on by uh, the sculpture, but I just desire to do something that I really like, that is right in every regard as far as I'm concerned. Keeps drawing me on. I haven't done it yet. So I don't know if it's the hardness. Hardness is part of. It gives me a chance to complain. When I came back from the Army, my father thought it would be a great idea if I kept busy and didn't just fall into slothful ways. So he So I got out of the Army in January 1945, was it? 45 or 46? 46, I guess. I was in 2.5 years. So I 46 and went back to college the following week. My father felt that, you know, if I allowed my experiences to clutter my mind, I would lose the ability to move ahead in a productive way. And then that summer, instead of taking a vacation, I went to work on a paper mill in Plattsburgh, New York. And the following summer, I said, screw this, I'm going to do something that I want to do. And I decided to take the summer and go to Skowhegan, which School of Painting and Sculpture, which it was in its second year, and I'd read about it somewhere. And I got my dad to pay my tuition there, and which he was a little bit reluctant to do, since he felt I should be an engineer and do something worthwhile in the world. The first piece of sculpture that I actually did was at Skowhegan. I have the original piece of sculpture. Then I went back to Cornell, as I say, and changed to fine arts. I was on the GI Bill, and I was considered disabled because of my knee, and was getting all of the advantages of that in form of tuition, fees, books, and a stipend to live on. It was really extraordinary. And my dad made it very nice for me in college. I mean, he did add and could have sent me to college. He was a successful man in business, and he was a Cornellian himself. His two brothers went to Cornell, and so I was sort of wrapped up in that from the moment I left high school, although I went to Cornell largely because they had a better football team than Harvard, where I also had a football scholarship to Harvard. And my mother's father had gone to Harvard, and her brother went to Harvard, and but my father somehow considered Harvard a lesser place than Cornell, not quite as manly. Jesus. I did start to do watercolors when I got out of the Army. I was strongly influenced by John Marin. Really loved his work, still do. The watercolors are a real challenge in that, you know, you've got, it's a kind of breakneck process where you go in, and if you don't hit it the first time, you're probably going to have to give up on it. But I try to approach wood in the same way, attack it and get the effect, the quality that I want in the first go round. This, incidentally, is a mallet which I've used for years. It's a shoemaker's mallet. They hammer the pattern through the leather with this. It's got leather here, and then it's cast iron. It's very heavy, and it's gotten too heavy. So as my arthritis has developed, it's simply become too painful to use. So I made another one out of black walnut, and I put a plug in it of steel, stainless steel, to make it a little bit heavier because it wasn't quite heavy enough. And now it really works. I've used it quite a bit, as you can see. But it's much lighter than this one. I work in this squalid little shack because it was something that seemed better than the studio I built for myself, which turned out to be too small and terribly lit. And whereas the light in here all year round is really quite satisfactory. But it is cramped. All the stone stuff was done outside. Even in the middle of the winter, I can get out there if it doesn't get too much below 20, because it's in the sun and you're working hard, so you stay warm. But the wooden stuff somehow goes better inside. I don't know why. And but if it's a large thing, if it's a tree trunk, which I, again, at this stage in my career, I'm not really capable of handling large things anymore. It just overwhelms me. I don't really give up on something until it's absolutely. In fact, I don't think I ever have actually given up on a. Yes, I have to, but not often. I find something in it that is halfway decent, even if I have to, as in this case, lop off the heads because they simply were not right. I look around and so much has been sold over the years, it's really hard to remember it. I've opened up an album of pictures which I have of things I've done over the years, and some of them I no longer recognized. It was really sad. As I get older, my memory gets feebler and feebler, and I mean, I used to know instantly where everything was, who had it, who had bought it, and when, and so on. And now the stuff has simply disappeared into the mists of time. I mean, people all over the country have bought pieces of mine. I'm in a number of museums here and there, through donations or actual acquisitions by museums, small ones here in Maine and some larger ones around the country. What the object was when I started out, it was simply to do something that was going to last and which would leave an imprint on the society. A kind of arrogant approach, but I mean, I looked at the winged victory of Samothrace in the Louvre when I visited in Paris after I got out of the army. And it just knocked me. I really went right down, almost to my knees. It was an experience which I have had once or twice subsequent to that, but it was a new experience. I had been interested in art, but I hadn't really understood what the real quality of art was. Its ability to move a person completely into another space when done properly. I forget when wood is more reluctant to give up its meaning than is stone. You find stone in odd shapes that lead you in a particular direction, whereas wood is, I mean, it's all the same shape, and you're going to have to everything that happens to the wood has got to be sort of imposed on it. Whereas with a stone, there are sudden revelations. I think that the minute I find a piece of stone, I attach a meaning to it. It has forms there that simply need to be released. I think that's the way it is. I mean I have I must say that I will take a whack at the stone just to knock off a piece and see how it feels, and then the thing goes pretty directly towards the image I have of it. I generally look at a stone or a piece of wood and imagine something in it and try to take away the stuff that it isn't. I think representational or non-representational, they kind of fade in to each other. Sometimes it comes out as a fairly complete, realistic thing. Other times it comes out just shapes. And I try to, in the realistic things, arrange the shapes so that they have a non-representational character as well. I don't know whether I succeed in that or not, and I'm not really thinking about it. There is something there, and I'm trying to knock off the corners. I hope into a simple arrangement of forms. It just, not that it bothers me that you can see them, but I'm not trying to make them absolute replicas of the physical object which I'm borrowing from, and that's really the way I work. And it always seemed to me that if you were doing a piece of sculpture, then anybody, the aficionado who knows all about it and the person who has no knowledge of sculpture at all, should be able to come to it and feel it as an actual object or as a non-objective object. And it does, to a certain extent, work. I probably get too much involved in the actual forms, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure what happens. I look at a piece of wood and I attempt to visualize what is there, and sometimes it turns out that way and sometimes it doesn't. Mostly once I get started and get involved, the thing that emerges is fairly close to what I had in mind at the start. But I'll attempt to work the thing from all sides so it comes together and is finished kind of when one side is finished, the other side will be finished as well, by revolving it and working back into the thing, developing the forms which I picture there and which are in the wood already. It still is alive to some extent, and it's the quality of life is there, and it's up to me to bash it into proper order. I worked some really large stones. Just a straightforward attack on the stone. letting the chips fall where they may in some cases. Otherwise, trying to control the stone, but at the same time, beating it into submission. Portsmouth, for instance, I have an enormous woman out on the island in the middle of the harbor running with a child. My mother, the wind. Over 10 feet long and 5 feet high and weighs probably 7 or 8 tons. The fact is that a stone that size, to get it to flow, it's a hell of a job. And I probably could have gone on carving on that for another 2 years, but when it was done, and it felt done. And that was a job getting in position too, because on a very narrow spit, it was a great moment when it actually went into place. And it's been there ever since. It hasn't wobbled so far as I know. There have been no cracks because of the stress of the rods in the rocks. And it's just there forever. The last year or so, it's become much more difficult than it used to be. Physically, it's so painful that I have been very dilatory in pursuing it. So there it sits, leering at me now. I can feel it. In the background someplace there, saying, "Get your ass up here." If I don't carve, I might as well be dead. It seems absolutely no purpose in continuing just to lie around. It is enormously fulfilling, and it all leads to an end, and an end that I determine, and which fulfills me. I think one of the basic things that I'm involved in, I want something that will last forever. That's beautiful, complete, meaningful, and lasts forever. That's all I ask of my sculpture.